Today I want to talk about PTSD. Well, actually, no. I wanted to talk about CPTSD, which is, well, basically like PTSD on steroids. It's like if you've had multiple or more than one or two, I guess, traumatic instances in your life that have rewired your nervous system to such an extent that, no, honestly, you end up having kind of triggers or reactions or processing issues about things that probably other people wouldn't even think about. And it causes a lack of clarity in your own thinking, and I think it also causes just like your onus operandi, your ability to feel like you have control over your own life and the decisions you make. In my experience with it, especially after the robbery 8 years ago, it's been from getting the brain injury from the robbery and honestly just having to go through the criminal justice system for 2 years after it to get a conviction in the case. And that's just a very long, drawn out, traumatic process of its own. And this makes it even like you have more to recover from. Yay! And so I feel like I wanted to talk about a particular complex. I don't like to say I have a complex, but I do. It's called the visibility complex. Okay, why do I want to talk about that? Well, I've been having, multiple people being like, "Oh, your videos were doing so well. Like, why did you disappear? What's going on?" And I have plenty of material to be talking about. I've done tons of research, and I love talking about intellectual and psychology matters. I love having deep conversations. I love exploring concepts and anything psychology related or anything intellectual or anything that brings, multiple genres together that it can like interlock and discuss all the different particular important things about them, about that overlap. I mean, that's what I live for, honestly. But I'm having a visibility complex. I'm not even making a joke. I really am having it. Where it's like I go through periods where it's just like I feel like, and this sounds nutty, but I feel like sometimes I just feel like an intense desire not to be visible. Like I just want to be in my own bubble. I don't want to be, I don't know. I just don't. I have a lot of like, I didn't used to be like this. That's the sad part. That's the sad part is before the robbery I had horrible things happen to me, you know, horrendous. And I've talked about those in my other videos. And, you know, I had a pretty wild life, and I've talked about that as well. And, you know, I've made a lot of poor decisions as well. And I've had some, like, outrageous things happen to me by strangers, family. And I never had this problem. I was actually extremely extroverted, outgoing, really liked to socialize, loved to be out, loved to be around people, loved to be engaged in life, despite everything. Just really preferred to be part of the world. And I've definitely noticed since the robbery, I will definitely go through periods of time where it's like, I just don't want to be in, I don't want to be in public. I don't want to be scrutinized. I don't want to be like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like, I would just rather be an observer in the background. I don't want to be like front and center or something. I just don't. Which is crazy because that's not my personality at all. And I had been going through some online bullying lately, and I've talked about that in other videos as well. And that's not helping. Like, I'm really getting sick of blocking, deleting all this crap constantly. It's like, and I tell myself all the time, like, just block, delete, whatever, don't read, comment, just like, think about it as it has nothing to do with you, because it doesn't, because these people don't know me. So it's like, how can I get upset at somebody's analysis of me when they don't know me at all? And it's obviously just projections they have about their own insecurities or whatever's going on with them. Has absolutely nothing to do with me. So I just think it's just meaningless. It's just like less than nothing. It's like an annoyance, an irritation, a time waster. But I don't take it personally until it seems like sometimes when I'm having this visibility thingy, and then that's happening too, it's like it kind of cranks up the heat a little bit, where I'm just like, I just get really like kind of irritated at like the world. I just feel like, I was just over at a friend's today going swimming, the pool, and it's like, oh, there was a documentary on the TV playing or eating, and it was like, oh, it was terrible. It was like, oh my God, it was terrible. I usually love documentaries, but this was like about, I don't know, it's true crime or something, and it was like about, one was like a home insurance scam where these people, and it happened in this state, in Indianapolis, or it really happened, where like, I guess this guy was like a scammer. He buried this woman, and I don't know how he mentally convinced her that they were going to blow up her house and then collect the money from the insurance company, but they did it like twice and it failed. They didn't have enough gas or something. So then the third time they did it, I mean, nothing happened the first two times. The third time they did it, they overdid the You know, how much gas they used to such an extreme point that they actually blew up 2 other houses, neighbors, and killed multiple people. And I think killed 4 people. I think that's right. And then, like, in the same documentary, I had to, like, a woman who was racist, and she was a neighbor, and then she came over to this other lady's house that she'd been harassing for like a year or something over her husband was African American. Like this was in Kentucky. Like, go figure. But this crazy lady comes in and shoots the woman in the face and then kills the husband. And it was just like, it was like, this is not good for my mental health to like seeing this, even though we weren't even like totally watching it. We were like eating dinner, but it was just like in the background. And I just started to just feel so uncomfortable. Like when I got home, I was just like, I'm just tired of people. I'm tired of people being shitty. I'm tired of people being shitty to each other. I'm tired of all of it. Like if you only have one life, we're only on this planet one time, like, I don't want to live. I've already seen I feel like my life has been like a fucking horror movie through some parts of it. It's amazing highs and lows, but the lows were so low. I almost got killed in several of them, and it's just like, I'm just done. I'm done with misery. I'm done with people just using each other and treating each other like garbage and taking out all their whatever unexpressed emotions on other people, you know, or other people instigating other people to. I'm over it. I would rather just never be around people ever again. Like, I just literally can't, like, so I've got to get out of this red state. I still don't have my Medicaid back. I mean, it's just like, I can't go on a rant about disability in America, but it's like overall, you know, Trump's president. Overall, like, this is, you know, ICE. It's like, it's all so horrendous. It's not even negative. It's not even like, it's not even like something that's gonna stop. That's the thing I don't like about it. It's like, it's just all getting worse. I feel like every year since COVID especially, things are just, it's like people have no filters. They'll just say whatever. Like, nobody seems to give a crap about their jobs. You know, it's like, I've had a lot of jobs I didn't like, and like, I made the best out of it, you know, and tried to take pride in my, like, job, and it's like, I'm not seeing any of that. I'm just seeing people just, like, they're almost like zombies. This seems like an apocalypse zombie situation. Everybody just looks like they're so mentally checked out, and like, I just feel like people just don't feel like they have anything to look forward to, and like, there's just nothing but like survival and just getting through the day, and then just sort of capitalist materialism to just, you know, numb the edges. And I don't know, like, it's getting to me lately. Okay, so what's a visibility complex? Visibility complex is obviously you're hyper aware, like we all know about hypervigilance and trauma. You have that. You have fear of being seen, deep-seated fear of judgment, abandonment, or scrutiny. Being the center of attention can trigger severe social anxiety imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, of course, is when you feel like you're not worthy of like whatever you're doing. Like, I mean, sometimes I feel that way about content creation just because I'm actually really suck at technology, and I have this disability with reading and writing, and like, I just feel, I get imposter syndrome for sure from that. But in general, normally I don't think I have it very much at all. I mean, I feel like I've succeeded and, got advanced degrees. I've had jobs that were successful and fulfilling, and, like, my disability screwed all that up. But before that, I felt deeply fulfilled. So I don't think I've had that imposter syndrome in the past. I just have had it, like I said, trying to do something new where there's like there's no community. I'm just like doing it on my own, so it's like I don't really know what I'm doing, so it's just it's a problem. Okay, so freeze response, that's of course fawn, freeze, people pleasing, all that kind of stuff. It comes from this visual hypervigilance. I already talked about that. Neurologically, individuals constantly scan their environment to see if there's a danger. It's like I'm the queen of that. And you can have like obviously PTSD symptoms from being in public places. Masking and fawning, just survive having CPTSD socially when other people don't have that, and you have to be around someone who probably deeply cannot understand you and no fault of their own. It's just it's a weird problem to have, I guess, because it's so layered. Fawning, people pleasing, appeasing others, putting on a public face mask of perfectionism to hide deep internal pain, trouble with emotional regulation, sometimes a negative self-concept or lower self-worth or shame. Well, of course, shame. Derealization and dissociation. Derealization is where you just don't feel connected. You know how like sometimes you don't feel connected to your body? Like I just started getting kind of addicted to working out again. So I feel like way more connected to my body because I'm like, getting that exercise high like immediately every morning. And so it's like and then sometimes at night too, I'll do more, and it definitely makes me feel more centered in my body. I don't feel as disassociated. But like derealization would be, it's like nothing seems, it seems like you're in a movie. It seems like you're watching yourself play a part. Like you don't feel like you're actually in your life. Nothing feels colorful or passionate, or you don't feel exuberant about anything. Everything's just kind of colorless and dull. That's derealization. Depersonalization is where you might where it even goes further. It's not just you don't feel connected to your environment. It's like you don't feel even connected to your own inner self. You don't feel, your identity doesn't feel secure. You feel like you're not yourself. You could be doing things outwardly that you appear very successful, or very, like, you could outwardly have, material goods, or, have certain things that other people would covet, and it appears that you have it all, but inwardly you wouldn't feel like pleasure, would just be kind of flat, and like people try to talk to you. You may have small talk, but it's like it's like you're anxious to get away and just not be engaged. Like, you're, even with people you really like, even in situations you normally enjoy, like your normal activities that bring you great joy, you don't feel like doing them. Like, nothing. It's like an inability to really participate, or like have like a full-bodied experience with anything. Like, I love cooking and baking. Like, that makes me excited and passionate. So it's like, I do notice when I go through periods of time where it's like I don't want to do it, I have to sometimes make myself, because it's like then I can feel myself becoming more alive, more excited about life. But it's like, it's kind of in that, it's kind of like with some of this CPTSD, I hate how long that term is, complex trauma. It's like whatever would be the key that would turn your motivation on, so that you could flip yourself from, oh, I notice I don't want to do what I normally like. So, like, how I just said, well, I would just make myself do it, and then I would start to feel better. Kind of like action makes you feel more confident than waiting to feel confident to take an action. It's kind of like that. But it's like, with complex trauma, it's like sometimes it'll just make it so whatever you would do to cross that bridge from, oh, I feel a lack, I know I can take this action, and then I can get rid of this bad feeling. It's like a lot of times when you have these kind of deep nervous system problems, it's like you can just almost feel like it's such a wide gap between the thought of what I need to do to fix this and doing it. It's like there's a gap. There's like, and it's like you feel too tired, you want to put it off, you want to procrastinate, you want to disassociate and do something else, something mindless, and you don't want to. It's like you want to put off doing what would solve the problem, even though that just sounds nuts. Why would you do that? But it's like a lot of these things are really, 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 they're deep, because it's your physical, like, I can intellectualize all day long about how I should not be letting my disability like destroy my present life, like my present tense life, because obviously my life's not going to get better if I don't do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing X, Y, and Z because I'm like obsessing over what I could do if I had those abilities back, instead of just remembering to accept that there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, my disability is not going to go away no matter what I think. Like, I can sit here and come up with all kinds of rationalizations, about it, but it's not going to do anything because it's a physical problem. Like, it's a physical problem that cannot be solved. I can't overcome it. So it's really just about acceptance and just not comparing. I have an enormous problem with comparing who I could have been if this hadn't happened. It's like, I've almost make an alternate idol out of that. Like, it's gets out of control. It's like, it doesn't matter what I could have done if I didn't. It's the life I'm gonna live until I'm dead. I mean, like, I'm gonna die like this. I'm not gonna have it back. Like, it's not coming back. So it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time, and it's soul crushing, and it robs me of motivation. It robs me of action. It paralyzes me. I don't know. It is based on perfectionism. It is, because it's just like, I don't know. I think it's kind of spiritual too, because it's like an idol. I make an idol out of what could have been, It's just like, well, you can do that all day long, but it's not going to change anything. So I just have to learn I have to put all that energy into figuring out how to do these things that I find impossible with a disability. Or it's not impossible, it just takes forever. It takes so much longer, and I'm not very good at it. And, it's just like all these things that are like, anyway. So, okay, I think that I've said enough about this particular syndrome. I did want to talk about Stockholm syndrome, because that is a lot more riveting, I think. Stockholm syndrome is something that happens where if someone's kidnapped or in an extreme kind of emergency situation, and usually life and death, sometimes people become bonded emotionally, like a trauma bond, with their cat, with whoever's taken them. Now, this could be on various levels. Like, it was called Stockholm syndrome because there was a bank in Stockholm that bank robbery. I think it took place over like, I want to say 3 to 5 days. And there were hostages taken, and then they were bound, and when they finally were rescued, they had become so emotionally tied to their captors. And on some level, some of it was because I guess some of the people in the bank were killed, but like they spared them, and it was like, because they spared their lives, it's almost like they had like some kind of emotional connection of gratitude. And it got so crazy that when they were rescued, it's like they were really concerned about the welfare of the people who had taken them hostage. And some of the victims even raised money to pay for their lawyers in the legal case after. And this ended up becoming also a thing during the Iran-Contra hostage thing. in the 70s. Same thing happened. It was much longer days. Was it 47 days? I don't remember, but it's like, again, the people who were held captive ended up bonding with their captors and forming some sort of personal relationship, emotionally, psychologically, where they felt pity for them and almost like an intense, sometimes it becomes romantic. Patty Hearst was another big one. She was what was her family had a ton of money. She was an heiress. I think she was like 27 or something. She was in her 20s. And she was kidnapped by this guerrilla organization, the Lebanese something group. And her and some other women were then made to go with them and rob banks. And she ended up getting super into it and like wanted to do even more than they had originally thought. And when she was finally freed, she had such intense feelings towards her captors that, she was like almost in mourning. And though she did use Stockholm Syndrome in the trial, it solidified that whole thing. Elizabeth Smart was 14 when she was kidnapped by a worker at her dad's Salt Lake City mansion. He would hire homeless guys to fix stuff on their property, and one of them came in the middle of the night with some kind of weapon. Her and her sister were sleeping in their bedroom, and he kidnapped her and then took her through these woods. And she was told that if she said anything, if she tried to escape, because often after they got back to where he lived, she was violently raped. It was horrible. And then he had another wife. He wanted to have like a polygamist. And they were some kind of religion where they, wore robes, and they had the, I don't know what the word is, but the veil over where you just can see the eyes. And I know she went shopping in town several times with them. I can't remember how long she was with them before she was ever rescued. But she did have times where she was not with the couple, but they were on a public outing, and she could have, given a note or tried to notify somebody in public that she was, a kidnapped victim, that she was Elizabeth Smart. But it's like she didn't do that. And that's what I wouldn't call Stockholm Syndrome. That's more like, they threaten to like kill her family if she tries anything. And it's like, oftentimes this will happen with sex trafficking incidents where the victims will be so terrorized emotionally, and at the same time all their self-worth is being stripped, and their sexuality is being used, and have to commit acts they don't want to, like all this stuff's happening. And so a lot of times when they actually are in a situation where they could possibly get away, they don't, but that's more like I said, Elizabeth Smart was definitely not bonded with her captor. That was not the case. She was more like a fear-based thing. There was another case in California. I want to say it was 2015. There's a really good documentary on it called American Nightmare. This woman, Denise Hutchings, her and her boyfriend were living together. I want to say it's in California. And some guy, mentally ill, but extremely smart, because he came up with this cuckoo plan that he like had night goggles on, and he made some kind of sound system, so it's like their bedroom was just filled with noise, and he made them put on night goggles too so they couldn't see, and he tied them up, and he ended up stealing her and leaving the boyfriend. And they wanted a ransom, and that case was crazy because the police themselves didn't believe them. They didn't believe because the story sounded insane. It's like somebody comes to your house, ties you up, makes you wear these goggles, and plays blasting metal music. It's just like, what? Like the police thought that they had concocted, like it was a hoax, and so they didn't. So that made it horrible for her to get freed because the police weren't on their side. And then when she finally was freed and the truth finally did come out, and they finally went through this long process where they were vindicated and received, they won some settlement. But it's like, it wasn't even worth the money they got because they're so traumatized by what happened. Because I know that there was a period after the first rape that happened with her where she could have gotten rescued, and the police fucked it up, and so she didn't, and so she had to go through another incident like that, and it was, and then she definitely blamed the police when it all was said and done, because it just made her captivity last longer. But those are both, all of these incidents could be considered complex trauma, because it's like there's, trauma over a period of time, there's multiple incidences, and the recovery is not simplistic. The problem is like when children are abused or molested, or like any kind of neglect or anything like that, like the children, and like this happened like in the cults, like when I was talking about Children of God. But like what would happen is, as a child, you're helpless, right? You have to have a caregiver to provide food and shelter and hopefully emotional comfort of some kind and instruction of some kind. But it's like often in these cases where they're being mistreated, a child will blame themselves. They won't blame the caretaker. They will do everything they can. I mean, they will. I mean, obviously, I blame my own mom. But that wasn't until I was an older kid that I started. I think after I was about 7 or 8, that's when I really started blaming my family and started realizing, okay, it's not me. But I think in the incidents before, when my mom, gave me a brain injury when I was a kid from being violent, like I definitely was more under a shame-based thinking that there was something I did. I must have got her upset or done something. Like I felt like it was my fault on some level, that I must have got her worked up somehow, and that's why that happened, and I guess we do that because we want to believe we have control over these situations. Of course we don't. But it's like, what I'm trying to say is, like, as a child, many times the child will take on the project those feelings of blame back onto themselves, and so that oftentimes is what it makes PTSD even worse, because it's like, who takes ownership of the trauma? Like, who is responsible? And it's like, if you've had, trauma in your childhood or adolescence, and then more bad things happen, then it's just like, you're using the same tactics to adapt in your adult life as you did as a kid. Like, there could be like such a dissociation from so much happening on so many different incidences that it's like you can kind of blanket it all with sort of a lack of feeling, a lack of clarity. So, and that makes it easier to then misconstrue where the blame should go. And obviously, if there's addiction or mental illness involved, it gets way more complex. I've always found in life, in my personal situations, that as horrendous and horrific as some of these events were that happened to me, it was worse how I made my life worse, how I reacted. Like, definitely the whole situation with my mom, I ended up in a severely negative situation emotionally and sexually as a young teenager, trying to get away from my mom. So it's like, what I'm trying to say is, like, what I've learned from life is that maybe if these things had happened to me and I would have not reacted with some outrageous action to try to solve the problem or deal with the feelings or numb the feeling, if I would have just not compounded the trauma with self-inflicted trauma, which is what I did, those things that I conjured up to deal with the original problem almost always were worse than the original problem. And it just would, like, attach and just sort of make a super problem, like, and I would have something, the consequences of poor decisions I made to deal with it, with the horrific things that happen, just always seemed to snowball, and they would just be so bad, and have years and years of consequences that even therapy couldn't touch some of it. It was just so bad, and usually most people who have had childhood or adolescent abuse or neglect will more than highly likely be involved in drugs and alcohol as a numbing agent, or a sex addiction or a codependency addiction, which is what I suffered from many times, and as a way to not have to look at anything, or there's nothing worse than trying to solve your own traumas and then realize that you've just did a bunch of work and, like, none of it really worked. That's, like, a really sucky feeling. But, of course, some stuff does work. But I have definitely had not a very good rate of return on my relationship with my mom. That was so physically abusive and psychologically abusive. But it's like, I haven't tried hypnosis. Is probably the only thing I haven't tried. I've tried everything. Like, I did eye movement therapy. I did EMDR. I did everything, and CBT and all of it, and it just doesn't. I can't seem to shake it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I do want to try hypnosis at some point. But anyway, I think I'm at time, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. But I'm very tired. I've had sometimes I'll go through things with the brain injury where it's like I just have such lucid, intense dreaming. Usually after I've not been able to sleep, I've had horrific insomnia before that, and then it'll culminate, and then I finally have these really intense dreams, and like I'll struggle to get back on a normal sleep schedule. So that's what I'm dealing with. So I'm not 100%. All right, I'll see you in the next video.